So we'll give it just one more minute here, and then we'll get to it. Let's get right to it here. Here's what we got going on first. We're going to start out with a little brain pop video. It's only going to go about 3 minutes. Skipping the Quizlet Live for today. And then we're going to get right to some stuff out of the Unit 8 document. You guys should see a new folder available there in Schoology, and I will talk about some of the newer resources that are there for now. We'll do a little upfront article as a class, and then I think we'll kind of be done for the day, or as a large group, so to speak. So here's where we are, folks. We've done Unit 5, 6, and 7. Now we're on Unit 8. Okay, this is going to be a 2-week unit, and then we've got one more. We've got Unit 9 after this. Okay, so the emphasis that we're kind of learning for the time being is political parties, elections, and public policy. And we'll kind of get into what that means here in just a minute. Okay, very good. All right. So first thing is just this short brain pop video.
Hey, since when are you a hippie? Dear Tim and Moby, what makes you a Democrat or a Republican? From Davis. Well, there's no one thing that automatically makes you a Democrat or a Republican. Those are the two major political parties in the United States. Identifying yourself with a political party usually means that you share its beliefs, or at least a good chunk of them. You can register with a political party if you want when you turn 18. That's actually the technical way to become a party member. But you don't have to. Many people are registered as independent or simply not affiliated with any major party. That's true. Democrats don't always vote for Democrats, and Republicans don't always vote for Republicans. Casting a vote has a lot to do with what's going on in the world at the time and your opinion of the individual candidate. Let's back up for a second and talk about political beliefs. What exactly are they, and where do they come from? There are basic core beliefs that pretty much all Americans can agree on. Freedom, equality, democracy. Right. You've heard those laid out in our Constitution, in its Bill of Rights, and in our Declaration of Independence. But when you get beyond these abstract beliefs that we all rally around, people start to get divided. I mean, no one's going to argue that freedom isn't a good thing, but what does freedom really mean? What kind of freedom are we talking about, and how far should it go? When it comes to real-life issues like education, the environment, healthcare, foreign policy, jobs and the economy, race and gender relations, and national security, political opinions are as widely varied as you can possibly imagine. How do we form these opinions? Well, our political ideologies or beliefs are shaped by where we come from, our culture, ethnicity, religion, where we grew up, what we learn from our families. And then we're influenced by what we hear from people at school and at work, from politicians, and of course the media. A person's political beliefs often shift and change as they grow older and hear more about the issues and have more personal experiences. Yeah, whoa. People can get pretty passionate about their beliefs. That's a good thing. Real debate is a healthy environment for ideas. But respecting others' beliefs is important too. You can be friends with people who don't share all your political beliefs. Political beliefs even vary within families. Political parties, like the Democratic Party, Republican Party, and the Green Party, are defined by their political platforms. A platform is a set of issues and principles that a political party supports. So, when people vote, they're likely to vote for the candidate from the party whose platform is closest to their own political ideology and whose actions in office will best represent their beliefs. No, you can't vote for more than one party's candidate. Well, because you just can't. Why do you keep changing clothes?
All right. Would everybody for me right now go to Schoology, please? Let's all go to Schoology. Then you should see a new folder there. And open it up and you will find the new Unit 8 document, please. Unit 8 document. So that first part looks a little something like this. And as I read, prior to, did anybody by chance hear the music that was playing as they came in? Anybody know what that was? Nobody? Okay. So Washington's last term, as you guys well know, he only served 2 terms in office, right? Okay. Now, when he renounced his title and said, "I am no longer going to be president," it really shocked a lot of people. Okay, they thought that he was going to be president for as long as he could. If this is a U.S. history class, we'd go into greater depth here about how amazing it was that Congress actually had the notion of trying to offer him the crown and trying to make him the monarch of the United States. And he renounced that power. He went, "No, I'm good. I don't want to do that." And they defined what he became as something else, which is really kind of an amazing feat. I mean, if you think of former conquerors like Napoleon, Alexander the Great, I mean, imagine if they conquered the known world and they went, "All right, well, that was fun. I'm just going to go retire and be on Mount Vernon now. I don't really want to do this." And that was what was really kind of amazing about George Washington, okay? So I want you to think of him delivering this message to people and how shocked people were when they heard it. And not only was he not going to be with them anymore, but he was giving some advice for the future. He was saying, don't get involved in too much political party squabbling. Okay, this whole bipartisan thing that we've got going on, how you're either a Democrat or a Republican, and we can't really have any middle ground. And the second thing was, don't get involved in foreign affairs too much. Okay, so either Washington was like Nostradamus and could like predict the future, or he really had some interesting insight at that time. So let me read this for you here aloud. Prior to leaving the office of the president, George Washington warned the country about the dangers posed by political parties. Party loyalty upsets the community with unproven bitterness and false alarms, sets off the dislike of one part against another, causes occasionally riot and insurrection. Heard that word recently, haven't we? Insurrection. Okay. Where did I leave off? Oh, it opens the door to foreign influence and corruption. Despite this warning, the powers of political parties have grown in the U.S. Do you see any of the warnings given by America's first president playing out here in the U.S. right now? I'll give you a couple minutes just to answer that one, and then we're going to watch a video together. Go. Give me some examples of things like this that you think you've seen, maybe. Yeah. What might that be? Okay. Do you guys need more time on this? Are we good? Okay, I'm going to play a short video for you here. Okay, and this is going to be, let's see, scroll down in your document to where it says, I think it's page 2. At the bottom of page 2, it says, do now. Watch the video. Should we get rid of political parties? That's the short video I'm going to play for you right now, and then we will answer those questions, okay? So the questions that we need to pick up from the video are as such. What evidence suggests that political parties are contributing to political gridlock? Excuse me. Why is outlying political parties probably not the answer? How can third parties impact American politics? And what changes could be made to our political system to encourage voting for third parties? So here we go. I'm going to mute myself.
Political parties, it's hard to imagine American life without them. And in our country, where two major parties reign supreme, the dynamic can feel like good versus evil, right versus wrong, or us versus them. But life isn't black and white. Are political parties to blame for the polarizing place we are now? And what would happen if they disappeared?
America, what it is. Investigation. More serious.
We're so used to the never-ending struggle between the Republican and Democratic parties that it might have surprised you to hear in our episode about electing Supreme Court justices that the Founding Fathers didn't want political parties in the United States. In fact, Thomas Jefferson once said, "If I could not go to heaven but with a party, I would not go there at all." So where did they come from? Well, get this. Thomas Jefferson ended up eating his words and founded one of the first political parties, the Democratic Republicans, the answer to the Federalist Party, which had formed around Alexander Hamilton and his desire for a strong central government.
This gets to a brass tack, just like what is a political party. This isn't something that's created by a constitution. These emerge extra constitutionally, extra legally. E. Schatzsnyder called a political party an organized effort to get control of the government.
Where has this gotten us? Well, some people would say that the political gridlock we experience today is all due to political parties. Not only are politicians of different parties not getting along, average citizens find it hard to talk to people with differing political views. According to the Pew Research Center, more than half of Democrats say the Republican Party scares them, while nearly half of Republicans say the same thing about Democrats.
There's a great book by Liliana Mason this year that basically talks about how all of our personal values have become deeply intertwined with political ideology. It used to be in the 60s and 70s, you asked parents, how did you feel about your children marrying someone of the opposite race? And a very healthy majority would not be in favor. But someone of the opposite party, no problem. Now that is flipped. And parents are deeply concerned about their children marrying someone of the opposite party.
Do the benefits outweigh the drawbacks, or vice versa? If we created America from scratch today, would we outlaw political parties? go back to our roots, and keep them out of politics entirely. Outlawing political parties might not be the most practical idea for the U.S. After all, they weren't a part of our country when it was first started, but they came into being naturally over time.
What would it take to outlaw political parties? What political parties are fundamentally not legalized in the first place. They are just the manifestation of people coming together in a group and organizing their political behavior in a certain way. If you want to imagine a system that outlaws that, you are imagining a system that significantly curbs people's ability to express political views and to coordinate their political behavior with other people. It would precisely be snuffing out the liberty that is both the lifeblood of democracy as well as the lifeblood of parties.
And focusing solely on Democrats and Republicans leaves out an important factor: the United States third parties. They've played an important part in our history too.
Richard Hofstadter, a historian, once said that in American history, third parties are like bees. Once they sting, they die, but they do sting.
They can still hold the major parties accountable. When a lot of elections are close, every vote counts. So even worrying about potential voters voting for a third-party candidate, that gives an incentive for the major parties to try to appeal to those third-party voters. So one important thing that third parties have done in American politics is that they've spurred change within one or both of the major parties.
So the most famous example of that would be the Whig Party and the Democratic Party in the middle of the 19th century being internally divided over the question of slavery. It took a third-party effort connected to grassroots movements for abolition to sufficiently, at the local level, kind of threaten to bump them off in elections or to throw the election to the Democrat in a kind of spoiler race. And in that case, the third party ended up essentially taking over the Whig Party. The Whig Party split so completely that the Republican Party grew in its stead and took a lot of northern Whigs with them.
What if we diversified the playing field by increasing the number of major political parties, giving people more options, more ways to identify? Would it diminish the prevailing us versus them narrative? Some experts say in order to do this, it would take a rewrite of our political system. You see, in our presidential elections, each state, except for Nebraska and Maine, gives all of its electoral votes to the winning candidate in a winner-takes-all contest. This discourages citizens from voting for third-party candidates because this is seen as throwing your vote away, since there isn't a prize for winning even the second most votes.
So we would need to make changes to election laws in order to help third parties win office. So each district elects one representative, and it's just of all the candidates, the one that wins the most votes wins that seat. In those countries with multi-member districts, a party that comes in third place can win the third most seats. In the United States, if you come in third place, you win nothing. You have to come in first place.
You have a system where right now, invariably, the votes are going to go to the top two, Republican or Democrat big party candidates. The only role that these third parties end up playing tends to be a spoiler role. In a ranked choice voting system, you have a chance for people to vote for a third party without it playing a spoiler role. And if enough people vote for that third party as, say, their second choice, you can end up actually having third party candidates win.
We're looking at Maine for our Local Matters series. Next month, the Pine Tree State will try out a new form of voting in which people can vote for more than one candidate. It's called ranked choice voting.
So ranked choice voting is a system where instead of voting for just one candidate, you are able to rank all of your candidates in the order of your preference. And so if my first choice candidate doesn't win, my vote isn't just thrown out, it then accrues to my second candidate. And if that candidate doesn't get a majority, then my third candidate is counted, right? And so forth until you get to a majority. So I'd say the biggest pros are twofold. One, it gives voters more choice, right? You no longer have a situation when you shouldn't vote for the candidate that is really your number one choice. So it tends to increase voter turnout. And it provides different incentives for candidates. Much less negative campaigning, much more positive and constructive campaigning.
If people are dissatisfied with the major parties, one thing you do is try to change them. And one way to change them is through influencing who do they nominate for the general election. So that's where you can get involved in a primary election. If you care about the political process, we focus a lot on voting, but there's a lot of other stuff you could do. You could volunteer for a candidate's campaign. You can donate money. You can attend a political rally to voice your opinion. And there's different strategies you can use. You can either try to work from within a party, or you can go kind of from the outsider route. You can support a third party candidate, or you could put more effort in supporting an interest group. That interest group could then help transform one of the two major parties. A lot of options that people have in trying to decide, where can I get involved to make a difference.
So what do you think? Do you think political parties are to blame for many of our government's problems and we should do away with them altogether? Or should we add more political parties? Let us know. Thanks for checking out this episode of America from Scratch. Be sure to check us out during our live podcast September 1st at the Minnesota State.
10 to 5 p.m. at the TPT stage. We'd love for you to be a part of the podcast and join the discussion. This program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So I think that is a great start for what we got going on here. I want to check in with the kids that are in class here and see how they're doing. In all fairness, I did not get the grade book updated from this weekend. I will be doing that today during my prep hour. So your Unit 7 stuff that you guys turned in this last week, like the test and the assessment, and then the document, I'll be putting that in there. You're also going to see that Unit 6 stuff shutting down. So this is kind of your last call to get some of that Unit 6 stuff in, because that is going away as well. Because at any given time, we only have 2 drop boxes open, the one that we just finished and then the one we're on now, okay? So that is what we'll do. I planned on doing a reading as a group, but I think I want to rather just give the opportunity for some kids to get some work done and do some check-ins. Don't be afraid to ask any questions if you need help with stuff. But I believe you have a good amount of stuff to get going on now. So any questions from the online group right now?